You're in the rant hole where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get a rant by becoming one of those people every single month. So we got Sigmund of Sigmonia asking me to rant about alcohol. Honestly, I haven't been drinking a whole lot of alcohol lately, partially because of my yearly ritual of getting utterly shit faced fucking blasted on New Year's. Because New Year's Eve is the only holiday I take seriously. I consider it to be the great cleanse. You get as drunk as possible and fucking have a hedonic, madness masquerade, and then the next day you wake up and you feel as though you're at the bottom, and it's like, from here I must go up and end the year at a higher point than I started it. So I did that. I got really shit faced on New Year's Eve, and I had a hangover that lasted like 3 days because it was one of those stupid nights. I'm not somebody who easily gets hangovers. I sometimes forget they exist because normally I start relatively early into the night, and I end relatively early because I stay up way later than most people. So, I drink at hours that would be normal for normal people, but which for me are like drinking at lunchtime, instead of after dinner. So it's like I was able to drink but not get hangovers no matter how much I drank for a long time. But I made this foolish mistake of drinking right up until my head hit the pillow, and I felt like death for a few days afterwards. So, on top of that, May and I are on a diet. Really, she's on a diet, and I just eat whatever she cooks for me, so I am on a diet by proxy. And, we don't want to drink too much, and, that's how we put on weight in the first place, was that we drank a lot of alcohol. And, when I have weed around, I'm way less likely to drink because weed is just a more fun, altered state of consciousness to be in. And I've gotten really to be a fan of like dab pens and vaporizing because it puts you into a state of mind that's kind of like being drunk without all the bad parts of being drunk. Like when you get when you get really seriously high from like smoking a bong hit or something, like you go into either like paranoia or like crazy aggrandizement and you can't stop talking and you fucking can't stop eating and you might just pass out. Like that's like goofy, funny high that is like what most people think of. But like the effects of just having a body high where it's like not really in your mind but more concentrated in your body, which is just like what like coming down, like going up and coming down from being high feels like anyways. But like when you get it where it's purely that, that's what it's usually like when you vape weed, is that like you don't really get like fucking stupid thoughts and you don't start going like into a like another world or anything. You just feel really good and relaxed, and like your pain kind of like you get that kind of numbness that comes when you're starting to get buzzed, and it feels really good, when you're drinking. But you don't have to go over and get drunk. You don't have to worry about having stomach problems or any of that shit. Like the worst part about drinking alcohol is that you are constantly doing this game of how much can you drink versus how much alcohol is in it. How fast do you want to get drunk? How long do you want to be drunk for? Like, can you make this beer last the right amount of time that it needs to? Can I fit this drinking into my schedule, basically? And just vaping, you don't have to worry about it that much. Like you're not going to be nearly as far away from being able to drive again, for instance. Like you can just like hit a peak and then come down pretty quickly, and do it whenever you want throughout the day, as opposed to it being like an event where you start drinking and then you can't really stop because coming down sucks. So like you never want to be in that state, but then trying to stay drunk or stay inebriated for too long makes you feel sick and you consume too much liquid. So yeah, I'm actually ranting about alcohol. Cause like I love alcohol, but like now that I have weed in my life, it's like I see all the problems with alcohol writ more large. Like I don't mind the taste. Like I don't usually drink direct shots, so it's not too much of a concern for me. Because if you mix any, like, if you just mix vodka and lemonade with, or pink lemonade in particular, you can't even taste the vodka. Like, it just tastes like you're drinking pink lemonade with a little extra, a little extra punch to it. But like, I could drink that. I could drink as many of those as I want. Like, nothing is inhibiting me, and you don't need that many of them to get drunk. So it's basically like, hey, do you want to get drunk? Here's a vodka pink lemonade. Do you not want to get that drunk? Maybe have a beer, or a couple of beers. You can get a huge variety of beers. I don't like IPAs, anything too hoppy, any weird experimental beers. So, like, I like a decent range of beer. I don't get bored of the beers I drink. But it's like, do I want to get a strong one and then end up knocking myself on my ass? Or do I want to get weak ones and end up nursing a buzz all night and never really tipping over into, like, having fun drunk, it's just so much micromanagement of your drunkenness. And like weed is also just as bad in the micromanagement department because you got different strains and you're like, how much of this one do I want to smoke? Do I want to roll a blunt? Do I want to just smoke some fucking, do I want to just pack it? Do I want to vape it? I don't know. They're both pretty bad when it comes to that element of it. But like with drinking, it's just so much more of an endeavor. It's not something that you also don't want to do it every day. You're like, you feel bad if you're drinking too much because it's really bad for you. Weed, comparably, not so bad for you. So like, it's like once you have weed, it's hard to go back to alcohol. It feels like a downgrade. Just like with cigarettes, like, I find cigarettes difficult to smoke now, and I don't really smoke them at all when I'm getting high. Like, it's only like if I find myself in a position where I'm like kind of stressed out and I want to step outside and like I might buy a pack of cigarettes, and then every time I smoke one I'm like, why do I smoke these? This doesn't do much to you. Like, it just kind of makes your head feel funky, and like it's a kind of a good stress relief somehow. But like that's it. It's only good for those moments. And weed's better for stress relief. So it's just like, yeah, like the only reason to consume anything else is that you can't afford weed, which unfortunately is a common occurrence here in Massachusetts, where it's still expensive as hell. This is a rant about all kinds of carnal pleasures, I suppose. Yeah, there you go.